So my, male 29, wife, 27, has been a stay-at-home mother since the pandemic began. She lost her job because of the global issue, and given that we were stuck at home most of the time, we decided that it was better for us to fire our housekeeper and have her be a stay-at-home mom at least until the kids, young grammar school female, preschool male, toddler male, were a little older. And mostly it's been fine. We split chores, about 40% me, 60% her. She does most of the daily household work and I take over when I get home. Except on weekends when we either work together or one of us relaxes. The thing is, I gave her free rein on the monthly financials of the household. We thought she spent most of the time buying things for the family. She'd know best what to buy, how and when, and it would be a waste of time to discuss every purchase or financial decision. And that was fine as well until about 4 months ago when I noticed some discrepancies. I began noticing a bunch of $49.99 or $99.99 purchases. Initially, I didn't pay them any mind, but over time there were more and more. So eventually I did a little digging, checked who the purchases were made to, and tracked how often. Looked at what my wife does in her free time. Long story short, over just the last 2 months she spent about $10,000 on gotcha games. Look, I'm not ridiculous. I understand people have hobbies that can require expensive purchases. I spend $200 on video games every month. But $10,000 in 2 months on gotcha games? Games specifically designed to keep you paying and paying. I consider it a real problem. So I confronted her. I told her that I'm not giving her a blank check anymore, not unless she seeks professional help. I told her that I called our old housekeeper and she'll start working with us again this month to help her with the kids. She said that it's not that big of a deal because we can afford it. I told her yes, we can afford it for now, but it's a dangerous game she's playing and she needs help. I told her the housekeeper would have to approve the financial decisions in the household together with her. Then she called me an idiot and said that I was financially controlling her because I was the only source of income in the household. Am I the idiot for not giving my stay-at-home wife any more money until she seeks help? $10,000 in 2 months. Impressive. Not the idiot. This isn't about being financially controlling, it's being responsible with money. Her argument that you can afford it is honestly terrifying. She spent $10,000 in 2 months on basically nothing at all. Nothing. It's not even gambling in the sense that she could have won something. She just spent it on digital nothingness. And if she keeps it up at that pace, you're not going to be able to afford it. You could lose your house, your savings. You could end up in the kind of debt you can't dig your way out of. She needs therapy. Yeah, I'll bet she didn't even realize it had gotten to that extent. Your wife has a problem, one that could potentially create significant problems for your family. Do you know if she was doing that with the money she earned before? Personally, I think she should go back to work to pay off her gaming addiction without a housekeeper. Given that you've already rehired the housekeeper, you should still expect better accountability, starting with paying the housekeeper's salary with her earnings. You are the idiot because this housekeeper thing is insane. Overall, I'm on board with this post, but you cannot put this on your housekeeper. She cleans houses. It's not her job to be a financial babysitter for your wife's app store addictions, and you're putting her in a terrible position by expecting this of her. It sets up an innocent worker to bear the brunt of your wife's abuse and insult when you're not around. Agreed, this took a wild turn. Why would your housekeeper be an appropriate person for this at all? Really, you need to have a conversation with your wife about it and why she's doing it. Did she know she spent that much? Is it an addiction? Is it depression? Do you actually just make enough money it doesn't matter? Is she financially literate? Does she have some kind of financial trauma that makes budgeting hard or impossible? And it just became relevant when she got into these games. From there, you can look into counselors or therapists, but suddenly and without warning, cutting her off and setting up a gatekeeper, a la your housekeeper, truly sucks. My husband, 26, and I, 25 female, have a young baby. After the first month or so, I took on full responsibility for the night feeds. This makes sense since I'm exclusively breastfeeding, and I think there's no reason why we both should have our sleep interrupted when there's not much my husband can add to that equation. To compensate, my husband usually takes the baby in the early mornings with a pumped bottle of milk, so I can get a few extra hours of sleep. Although the arrangement does work, the lack of sleep has been taking its toll on my mental health recently. In addition, although my husband is a great and very present dad 99% of the time, there have been multiple occasions very recently in which I felt I'm being treated as the default parent. He's agreed that he needs to be more considerate about automatically assuming that I will take care of the baby if he wants or needs to do something else. This morning I was particularly exhausted after a difficult night and told my husband I was at my limit and needed a serious break for a few hours. He said no problem. However, about half an hour later, he told me he was going to the gym with his friends and would be back in a few hours. I immediately got very upset and said I couldn't believe he was saying this after the conversations we just had. He said going to the gym was important for his mental and physical health, so he needed to go. I said I really needed a break now and asked if he could at least go later, e.g. in the evening, so I could get a proper break first. He said I needed to be more flexible, that he would take over taking care of the baby as soon as he was home and that I could just rely on his mother to help out for a few hours. We live with my in-laws and went anyway. I feel very unsupported and alone. His mother is very helpful, but she has her own responsibilities, and I can't exactly ask her to contact nap with the baby for 3 hours while I relax and unwind. I appreciate that mental and physical health are important for new dads and new mums, so am I the idiot for wanting my husband to delay his workout for my benefit? You weren't forbidding him from the gym completely, just asking him to go at a time that worked better for the family. Honestly, all the stuff about his mental and physical health is irrelevant in this situation. There were several options to get his gym time in and not shaft you on sleep, and he chose none of them because he assumed you'd just pick up his slack. Not cool. Not the idiot, and your husband needs to step up. Husband can suck it on needing this for his mental and physical health. He's getting a full night of sleep each night because his angel of a wife is willing to take on the full burden of sleep deprivation for 9 solid weeks. Sleep deprivation is categorized as torture. She's willing to undergo torture for him so he can sleep at night, and he somehow thinks his mental and physical health comes before hers. That is a flaming pile of selfish BS. He is treating her as the default parent and thinks he gets cookies for putting in any effort. His job should be to take care of the baby solo for at least 5 hours a day, so she can get a solid chunk of sleep before she gets too exhausted and drops the baby. I don't think he's aware that he's the father of that child and that his responsibilities and priorities changed the second that child was born. He absolutely sees you as the default parent and is not pulling his weight. He needs to step up and grow up. Obviously not my decision, but I wouldn't recommend having more children with him unless he can prove he can be a good father and a good partner. Until that, you're a married single mother, love. My parents host a barbecue for the 4th. I paid for all the meat and fixings. My mom made the sides and my sister-in-law made a dessert of strawberry shortcake, peach cobbler and blackberry cobbler. My mom invited some extended family and we hadn't even got to the desserts yet because my sister-in-law was going to reheat the cobblers in the oven before serving. I get in the kitchen and half of each dessert is gone, and I see my cousin grabbing leftover meats and she's heading out the door. This party was supposed to last at least a few more hours of just sitting around and shooting crap. I stopped my cousin and told her to put the food back. My sister-in-law comes in upset, like, what the heck? The cobbler is ruined for everyone because she left the crust on top undercooked, so she put it back in the oven to reheat it. So she's yelling at my husband, who didn't bring one single thing to the cookout other than her greedy self. My cousin started in on the tear fest and how she's a single mom of 4 and how she's heading to work soon so the kids who didn't come had to eat. She's literally taking half the food for 4 kids that was supposed to feed almost 24 people. I told her to leave the food and go. Instead, she dumps the plates of food on the ground so now no one can eat it. My sister-in-law started crying at this and my cousin yelled at her for playing the victim when she left. I'm awkwardly comforting my sister-in-law until my brother comes in because my cousin yelled at our grandma about hospitality. My aunt and her family left after that, and my mom was upset with me that I should have just let my cousin take the food to avoid all of this drama. I didn't think I was in the wrong because who takes half of the dessert before we even put them out? Everyone is acting upset at my sister-in-law and me, other than my brother, for just not keeping the peace of the party. Not the idiot, your cousin is one of a kind. Her entitlement is staggering. Her greed is astonishing. She needs to be scolded for her rudeness and greed, not coddled. Nor everyone giving in to her shenanigans to keep the peace, as she's the one who disturbed it. Hope you cut her off and her flying monkey. That is some awful circus. You don't have to suffer the crap show if that's the only thing she brings to the table. Your family has created this monster just to avoid all the drama. They're all wrong. I had an aunt like this. She actually loaded up on food to go for her kids at the repast for my brother-in-law's funeral. After a while, people stopped inviting her places. I suggest you do the same with your cousin and anyone who supports her actions. She's a selfish human. And remember, no one that is desperate for food drops it on the ground. This is what I was thinking. No way would she have thrown all the food on the ground if she were really in a food insecure situation and needed to feed her kids. She's just a freeloader. Also, how did she think she was just going to sneak out with nobody noticing when she cut out half of 3 desserts? But family, be the bigger person. Keep the peace. You did the right thing. Your cousin caused the drama by stealing the food and ruining sister-in-law's desserts. Frankly, you should send her a bill and tell her she can either pay it privately or in small claims court. I get it that Mom doesn't want to lose her sister, but really, who can tolerate such petulant behaviour? My parents have been divorced since I, a teen male, was a baby. The divorce was pretty high conflict and they've never been the kind of people who stayed in each other's lives outside of me. I've been repeatedly told there was no cheating, but my mom has admitted to me in recent years that she didn't like how my dad treated her at the end of their marriage. But she said that didn't mean it needed to come between me and him. It just meant she would never be able to be friends with him or form a makeshift wider family with all of us. My dad got married for the second time when I was like 5. He and his wife have had an awkward relationship. They are sort of open, but in the past were also kinda on and off. So they've had kids with other people and each other for the last 11 years. The dynamic has meant they don't have a lot. Of us all, I'm the most financially secure because Mom has always taken good care of me and she can afford things my dad can't. We've vacationed every year except for 2020 and 2021. Sometimes we even go twice a year. I've been all over the world with my mom. Dad could never afford a vacation. I also get new clothes whenever I need or want something new, while they have to share a lot of hand-me-downs and thrift store buys. I get more gifts at Christmas every year and better gifts. They mostly get practical stuff while I get fun stuff. When I turned mid-teen, my mom brought me a nice but second-hand car. None of the others are that age, yet my dad and his wife won't be able to afford it. Same with vacations. My mom has always asked me where I'd like to go. Normally my first choice is one out, but only sometimes. But I always want to go to fun places. This is something Dad pointed out a lot in the last couple of years. He said it was all stuff many kids would like, and I was like, yeah, because Mum gives me the input in the decision of where. Dad was like, so you request these places? And I'm like, yeah. Mom and I got back from vacation last week, and when I went to my dad's, he was angry. He said I was selfish and cruel to request these vacations when I knew the other kids would love to go to all these places, and he accused me of intentionally choosing places they would never be able to go just to be an idiot to them. I said no, but I won't lie about where I want to go to spare their feelings. He said I should, that I should love and care about them enough not to let them miss out like that. I told him it wasn't my problem. Am I the idiot? Edit, my dad also has 5 bio kids, that we know of. That includes me. His wife had 2 when they first met. She had 2 with him and like 3 or 4 others. Wait, so she has 7 or 8 kids, and he has 4 besides you? Yeah, they ain't going on vacation anytime soon, especially not on your mom's dime. OP, not the idiot. Enjoy the places you want to go. Building memories with your mom is an amazing opportunity you should cherish. I hope you guys continue doing fun things together. Dad can learn to deal with it. Ugh, haven't they heard of birth control? Poor finances are an excellent reason to limit the number of children that you bring into the world. That's his own problem. If he has that many different kids from within his marriage and outside of it, he should have been better prepared to be able to pay for them. It's not your responsibility to actively do something about his inability to do fun things with his kids, or to put off your ability to do things that you want. I'm not sure how old your siblings are or what your relationship with them is like, but at the end of the day, it's your mother footing the bill, not your dad. Honestly, OP's dad sounds quite petty and jealous of what the mom provides for their son. He's trying to badger his son into either not talking about those places because his brood notices he can't provide the same, or not going to them so he can be just as miserable as the rest of the children, because dad seems to have very little self-control. My 31 male oldest kid is my wife's biological son that I adopted. Last year, his school recommended he be assessed for a neurological disability. The process of finding a specialist that our insurance will work with has taken a long time. This specialist wants a lot of medical background information on our son. My wife only has her medical background information, which she provided. The specialist said this wasn't sufficient. I found her ex on Facebook and messaged him to ask for his family's medical history. I explained why. He immediately blocked me. I found his sister on Facebook after that and sent a similar request. She said she would get me the information. We exchanged emails about this. I got an email from the guy telling me to stay away from him and his family or he'll sue me. I told the guy I was just trying to find the information I needed, and if he wasn't willing to help me, I would explore other avenues. He called me an entitled idiot and said I had no right to his personal information. He said scum like me is the lowest of the low. I have, however, continued to email his sister despite his objections. Am I the idiot here? Sure, it's his personal information, but it's my son's personal information too, and he needs it. Could I actually be in the wrong? Not the idiot. Your wife should have handled it, but you're not an idiot for doing right by your child. X is not obligated to provide anything. I'm curious about the specialist. Have they never heard of adoption before? What do they mean by insufficient? Not everyone has access to both biological parents' family medical background. I find it hard to believe they wouldn't complete the testing because bio-dad is an idiot. I would agree with this if the child were his stepson, but he's OP's adopted son, and OP and Mom are equally responsible for and entitled to information about the son. Of course, the specialist knows about adoption, but when you may have a heritable condition, it greatly impacts what they test for and what they can rule out. They don't refuse to run tests if you don't have your full background. It's more difficult, and often more expensive, to make diagnoses with less information available. LOL, that guy is a disgrace, refusing to provide medical history that could help his child. He abandoned his child as a newborn and now calls you the lowest of the low for asking for medical info. Sounds like a real winner. I'm not sure why so many people don't get why your wife doesn't want to talk to this man. It's pretty obvious to me. Thank you for stepping up for your kid. You're awesome.